Oh, we're going.
Are we on? Are we live?
Yeah, recording.
I don't feel comfortable with the owl. Oh, what is it?
Watching technology,
Next month, I
John.
think owl season starts. Might start tonight. You start tonight a little early.
You're good to go.
Good to go. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. For ORS 192.610 to ORS 192.690. For ORS 192.650, this meeting will be recorded and there'll be a copy on our website. And we're getting another call. Probably, okay.
Yeah.
Phone after that. Different call.
Sixth Avenue, US 220.
Great job.
Streets are not Swain Street and Main Street.
Okay, use our invitation.
Father, give you praise because you're the one who has fearfully and wonderfully made us. Lord, you placed us here in this wonderful place. Lord, I want to ask that above all else, you give these men, these women discernment. Lord, when they're here making crucial decisions that lead to how things are run and how our fire department and EMTs, Lord, everything is really pulled together and those in our town are cared for and protected and watched over. Lord, I ask for discernment for the guys and the ladies that go out and meet the calls, and whether it's at a fire or Lord, they're meeting someone on the street and having to evaluate what their physical needs are. Lord, I ask for discernment for them, that they would be able to know what it is, how to respond, and Lord, to save their lives. Lord, we give you praise for their hearts, that they want to use what you've given them in their lives, Lord, with the resources, even their own hands and feet, and glorify you with that. Lord, we know that you're the one who has given us life. And so I ask, Lord, that you would keep us faithful. Lord, when we see all that's going on in the world around us, I ask, Lord, for these here in Estacada especially, that you would work in a way that's so unique, that would be exemplary, that we would be able to even share with those around us the good things that are happening in this town, and that you would shine brightly through those who serve right here in this department. So thank you again for their diligence. I ask, Lord, that you would allow their work to continue on with great ease the rest of this year, and that you would use them just in very practical ways and unique ways in the days, weeks, and months ahead. We love you and ask this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Flag salute. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Director Miller,
Here.
Director Day,
Here.
Director McAdoo,
Present.
Director Silva. Here. Director Alders here.
331. Working on 25.
Okay. Directors, do we have any changes to the agenda?
None for me.
None for me.
Yes, I have changed them, got to you yet.
Well, we'd like to,
Steve, do you have any changes to the agenda?
we need to remove the fee schedule. We're gonna move that to next month. From B4 to add civil service.
Want to do before civil service?
Yeah, we'll follow.
Fall, okay. Okay, you good? Okay, so we have a consent agenda to accept and approve the March 16th, 2023 meeting minutes and approve the bills to be paid as presented.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay. So I'm gonna abstain from voting on a check that's for my company. What check number, do I need to say the check number? or-
I don't think so.
Okay,
You
so
identified
the
it.
KO custom fab check is, I will abstain from voting on that.
Hang on. Make me look at it again.
It should be at the top of your.
How about we
checklist.
get into a little bit of bartering right now?
Oh, you're gonna beat me up? Okay, so let's go for a vote. Director Day,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Silva,
Yes.
Director McAdoo,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay, so I'd like to introduce, we're gonna go to B2. I'd like to introduce Roy Emery with SDAO. And he's going to talk about their consulting services and answer any questions that we have for him to decide whether we're gonna move forward with their consulting services agreement. So you're on.
Thank you. The scope of work that I was received was for an organizational assessment of your fire district. So I assume the questions were, what do we do for the organizational assessment? And so we request a whole bunch of documents that we'd like to review before we come and do a site visit. And we, all right. And we work with the board and fire chief for when we refer to stakeholders, we get stakeholder names from those individuals, and we set up appointments for interviews to talk with those individuals. And typically, if there's a bargaining unit, we want to talk with the union leadership, and if there's volunteer association, we want to talk with that leadership also. And then it's any other names that you as the board or the fire chief provide for us to talk to. It's a good cross-sectional, how are we doing? What do you think we could be doing better for all those individuals involved? Management components, we look at the plans that are in place. We look at meetings, we look at documentation. The documentation, proper records retention and how you do that. Financial controls, my partner does that. I'm not a finance person. But it's just your budgeting processes. Do we follow all the public rules that are in place? And also plans. So do we have like a 5-year financial plan in place? And so the reason why that's important is you can see what the impact of your decisions are as a board, what the long-term impacts are instead of a 1-year snapshot. Management, human resources, again, we look at best practices for those. And again, what's doing well, and we document what you consider doing to change things. We don't say you're doing anything wrong. It's just, here's some things that you can consider. At the end, you get a 20 to 30 page report from us. And it says, here's what we think's going well, and here's some things to consider. And typically what happens is the board and the fire chief take those things to consider and do an ordered priority of those and just start knocking them off on the list. And so service delivery and performance, we're big on an organization having a standard of cover document in place. And the reason why we're big on that, it tells your taxpayers the level of service that they're going to get. That's what's expected. And it's a great communication tool. The reason why it's a great communication tool, it works in tandem with that 5-year financial plan. That when, or if you need to go out for a levy or a bond, here's all the information. It's all been out there. And training, I'm big on training. So I do a lot of going through the training and making sure lesson plans are in place. And we also look at your programs like respiratory protection sure you have the appropriate documentation in place for that. That aspect is like OSHA inspectors coming in, and so part of it is we ask for these records, and you have to be able to produce those records, and a lot of agencies can't. And so this is a good help to assist them to become more organized so they can pass that test. As a fire chief, I've been through several OSHA inspections, and it's not a pleasant experience. And so, part of the reason why I do the consulting is if I can prevent any organization from doing any mistakes that I've done, then that's a win. So, do you have any questions on the assessment?
You kind of answered me. I was wondering what your background was, and you said you were a fire chief.
Oh.
So,
I can back up is, Ken knows because I have a long conversation with them, but I have 40 years in the fire service. And so I started as a volunteer in Hermiston, Oregon, and came to the Valley to go to paramedic school. And so I was a volunteer in Corvallis, and I got hired in Corvallis. And for 12 years, I was the fire chief from 2007 to 2019. When I theoretically retired, I immediately went to work for SDAO. And then my wife further states that I failed retirement because I went back to work full-time for Eugene Springfield as a fire marshal and helped them out for a couple of years for some problems that they were having. And I still consulted during that time. And because of COVID, I got bored because there's no consulting, so I became a rural mail carrier.
I guess you did fail at the whole retirement thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your wife sounds like she's pretty smart. Yeah.
And so all those jobs except for consulting went away the 1st of January. And so the bet is how long I can just stick to consulting.
So you said you have a partner.
I typically work with Bill Anderson,
Okay.
and he retired. He has 36 years in the fire service. He started as a volunteer in Monmouth and then went to work for Twelm Valley before it was Twelm Valley.
Yeah.
And he retired there in 2006 and went to work for SDAO. And he did a whole bunch of interim fire chief work for them in various organizations dealing with problems before a new fire chief came in and would have a chance of success.
Yeah. So you guys actually have a process that you've done over and over and over again. And so it's just plugging our information and everything into that process then.
Kinda, it is. All districts are different sizes. And so some are more complex. And so we take a little more time. And it's kind of also, we get a feel of what do we really want out of this? And so we kind of customize it to what the desires are. We typically work for the board. And so we answer this agreement, we're employed by the board, so we answer to the board.
Okay.
And we like to keep the fire chief included at every step of what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just a big personal thing for me.
Yeah, well, I agree.
And so I like to be very transparent with what's going on.
But one of the things, we've been talking about doing a strategic plan.
Mhm.
How old's our old one? 12 years old, 10 years old? something like that?
That's
Old.
7 maybe.
Yeah. And so then, as part of the discussion recently was, this is not a strategic plan.
No, but you could use, the way Roy would look at it is our report is going to have X, Y, and Z that you can consider accomplishing. And those X, Y, and Z things could become part of a priority planning process that you can do internally, which is essentially a strategic plan light for you. And so it's a roundabout way again, is here's things that the organization needs to address. And you, as board members, establish the priorities. And it's gonna give you 3-4 years worth of stuff to do. Because you have to run a fire district, so that's always in the background. So the analogy I use for your chief CEO is you always have to leave room for ice. And so if you have a cup that's all the way full of water and you put ice in it, it runs over the top. he's responsible for running the fire district, and so you don't want to put too many of those order priority things in place. Everybody in the organization has to have capacity for ice. Don't want to burn somebody out.
Yeah, and we restarted almost 2 years ago, July 1st, so I look at this as a good thing to come in and review us. We're 18, 19 months old, 20 months old now.
And it's, again, as we recognize what's being done well and the parts are in place, and that here are some things to consider. The authority having jurisdiction is the final decision maker on that. It's just, we recommend from NFPA to other fence management practices and fiscal control.
With our strategic plan, they talked about interviewing community members. Do you do any of that?
Is who you want us to talk to.
Okay.
We don't go solicit on our own. And so if through our interview process, we keep hearing a name come up that's not on our list, I will go to the board chair and the fire chief and say, this name keeps coming up, can you tell me why? And do you want us to go talk to an individual?
Good idea.
But I will not talk to somebody without informing.
So we can decide that before they start, who we want them to talk to.
Yes. We like to have a list so then I can arrange folks. And by example, when we went to Weston last week, we checked in the hotel and drove over to Weston and interviewed people until 10 o'clock at night and came back, and we're back the next day and interviewed people all day, and then looked at all their sites in the afternoon and interviewed people that evening, and we're back at 6 the next morning to get some early folks. So we're flexible on adjusting the schedule. People work, so it's typically in the evening, and command staff is scheduled here in the day.
Yep.
And so if we can break it up, it makes it a little more interesting for us.
Okay, I have one more question.
Sure.
You talked about the financials, looking over the financial stuff and things like that. How is that gonna be different than the audit that we're already having done annually?
Us is just making sure that the controls are in place. The audit is the best practice. And so again, some organizations don't do that.
Okay.
And so again, this is some generic wording to fit all sizes that's going through. But it's also, you know, we have board policy, and then we have district standard operating procedures. And so it's how are those being followed? And so typically the board has most of the financial control policies in place. And so there's a separation between those because, again, in my eyes, the best practice is the board has one employee, and that's the fire chief. And then the fire chief has all the rules in place for running volunteers and employees. And those are their operating guidelines.
John, do you have any?
Oh, he's pretty well covered it.
Good.
Yeah. And if you do have other questions, Ken has my contact information.
Yeah.
Now, this is,
What's the fee schedule for that? Have we decided that yet?
Yeah, $6,000.
it's not to exceed
Not to
6,000.
exceed
So what that
6,000.
means is if we come in and do our work and do it for 3,000, you're billed for 3, or if we come in and do our work and we go over, you only go for 6,000.
That one email that you sent out said there were some sort of credits or something?
We have an 8-hour credit
Okay.
because that's, we obviously belong to SDA.
Yeah.
So, so whatever that total ends up being, they'll take 8 hours off.
Yeah.
So
I personally think it's a great idea. I mean, you know, it's another set of eyes
Yeah,
there,
oh, absolutely.
you know, so.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I didn't quite hear, I'm so far away. Who all do you interview?
It's who you want us to
Who do you
interview.
want?
well,
And so
We'll set that.
all of us
Yeah.
will decide who.
typically,
Yes, talk to.
it's the board member, it's the command staff. If you have a bargaining unit, the bargaining unit leadership, And if you have a volunteer association, it's that leadership group also.
Okay,
And it's one-on-one with the people.
okay,
And as for every person we interview, for us, the information is confidential. And we don't ever in our report say, John Smith said this. We don't ever do that. So we rework the information. So again, as it's not.
that's important,
Yeah.
confidential.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that's good. I wanted that re-clarify what groups we're being,
yeah,
want to
we'll,
make sure everybody in the organization is involved.
yeah, we'll decide.
And like he says, he works for us,
Yes,
so,
Have we ever had something like this done before?
God, maybe decades
a
ago.
long time ago. I think Bert was still here, I think. When we did Bert.
Well, that's even before me, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was a
No, you were
volunteer,
here.
yeah.
Remember you and your brother,
How long was Bert chief?
up till 99,
I know, but when did he start? Do you remember?
83.
Oh, geez, what he
Wow,
was,
yeah,
60. I was here the last 3 years. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think his son is my best friend.
Really?
Yeah, Jim.
Jim Bert? That'll be done.
Yeah, Jim works at,
He retired from Benton County as
Yeah.
a police supervisor.
Yeah.
And he failed at retirement also and works for Hughes Fire Equipment.
Oh,
And so he makes sure their shops are working well.
I couldn't remember Benton County.
yeah.
Well, Chairman, if you would entertain a motion, I'd like to make one.
Okay,
Well,
Or,
why don't we ask Chief what he thinks about this idea?
well, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I do too, but I was just curious what his. What
Good idea.
Well,
he kind of works for us.
Exclude him, you know, not set him out the side, you know.
We value his opinion, but he doesn't.
Okay, so let's throw to a motion and second, let's get on.
Chief, you have any comments or questions for?
No,
Right.
I think it's a good idea. It would be good to get for the organization.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we sign the contract with the SDAO for consulting services not to exceed $6,000.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I think we had a discussion before the motion.
Double checking. So, okay, let's do a vote. Director Silva,
Yes.
Director McAdoo,
Yes,
Director Day,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes,
and Oliver's a yes. Okay. When would we start this, Ron?
It depends. We have to get, I would say that we would start this in the first part of June.
Okay.
And, then I'm gone the last part of June, but we would do our site visits in the first part of June.
Okay.
And we would have a draft to you, by the end of July. Because we have to do that because Bill's gone fishing for August and September every year. That's what he does. And so, and then I'm gone the first 2 weeks of August of this one, so,
So you have to work these schedules around the people who failed at retirement.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
where are you going tonight, so may I ask, Reykjavik?
Yes.
I spent some time there in 62.
Wow. I hear it's a pretty place to
It
visit.
is, it's a beautiful place, yeah.
Yes,
He's also a retired chief.
yes. Know the name. So we'll work out, if you give me a point of contact, we'll start, I can send a information request for the electronic records that we'd like to see. So we can get that going, that I can read that, make why I finish up and I report. And we can set up appointments for people.
Make a copy of it. I think. Last week, they- Yeah. one copy, yeah.
Yeah. I think I met you,
Boiler.
yeah. Yeah, in one of the big batches. Your brother, right?
He's a deputy.
Yeah, I was, dating Lucy Johnson.
Thank you.
Oh, you were Lisa, Lisa.
You got a big one?
That was like late nineties.
Oh, yeah, it's fun. Someone might have seen you at some events. Yeah. We've hired a lot of people.
Yes. Isaac. Yeah.
Okay. You taking off? Are you gonna hang out or
That's whatever you want me to
whatever you wanna do?
It's a public meeting, you smart.
Road to Corvallis, don't you? Yeah, no, I mean, I would skip the road.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Nice meeting you, thank you.
Good meeting you guys.
Thanks, Roy. Okay. B3, Station Subcommittee.
Look at me, I wasn't there.
Go ahead, Paul.
There was a
First meeting,
2 minutes.
you know, we just kind of went over, trying to define exactly what we want, what we need. I went down to Coos Bay Monday. I toured their fire station down there because supposedly the one that we got, the one we got from you was built there and it's pretty close. Then I met with the architect, Joe Slack, and then he gave me a new drawing. It was a year later. So we have a newer one.
Oh, that was actually that station?
No, it's actually the station specifically for us. Yeah, it was, I think it was September of 12, not August of 11.
Any changes to it?
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you one thing, you drive up to that station down there and the footprint's about the footprint, it's about 22,000 square feet. With the apparatus bay and the two floors.
Mhm.
You drive up that station and it's a monster. I mean, it's big. I have my concerns that we don't have enough room here with that size station, training facility, everything, but we have to disprove or prove that through a plot map. So that's kind of our next step, is getting a plot map. But yeah, it was a nice station. It was neat to walk through it. Jeff Adkins down there, the BC, we spent 3.5 hours down there going through it. The bottom floor was perfect. All the admin, everything, that was just great. But when you went upstairs to living quarters, that's for me kind of got wonky. It's like, okay, we have this much square footage downstairs. And we have this much square footage upstairs. We got to fill it up. And it just was kind of odd how it was filled up. And then there was like 8 bathrooms, but you know, they had their own SCBA filling room, they had their maintenance room, the turnout cleaning and drying room, the turnout storage room was just phenomenal. We took a bunch of pictures, took some video, we've downloaded a jump drive, so we're gonna have a meeting Monday. And we'll be able to go over all that on the big screen.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it was pretty impressive, other than it's big.
So how'd they fund it?
So they actually went out for a bond, to build theirs. I wish I'd have brought those notes. They went out for a bond for 6.9 million.
Mhm.
They built it in 12, so they were still, maybe it was 11, I'm sorry. They were still coming off the whole recession and
Right.
construction costs were cheaper and whatnot. But then he also told me that, yeah, we got a new fire truck out of that, and there was some other add-on stuff they got also. Joe Slack at HGE, the architect, gave me what it would estimated cost for construction back in 12 if we would have built it, and he says figure about double now, so double now's over 10 million. Back then it was just over 5. But the station down there, when they built it, they had to drive 60 pilings and some of them were 70 feet deep, to have a foundation to put that station on. So obviously we don't have to do that, but still, the money's the money. So, I asked when I went in there, I said, you know, I told Jeff, said, I really appreciate what you're doing, letting us go through this. But the one question I have for you is to tell me what you would do differently. And he goes, oh yeah, we got stuff. And lack of storage, too many windows. There were so many windows facing the south, they gave up a lot of storage room because there was windows there. They couldn't put cabinets and everything in. They have solar. Solar works great for heating the hot water. They said we would not do the electrical solar again. The solar for water is phenomenal, but for the electrical, in our opinion, it's not worth the investment that we invested in. So of course, that was quite a while ago, but you know, once you put solar panels up, they start decaying and they're not as efficient as the day you put them up. It was really impressive, 14-foot wide, 14-foot high doors, pull through, they don't always pull through. It was a nice station, that's for sure. It would be the biggest building in downtown here, I think. So I brought back a new set of those drawings, Chief has them.
Okay.
And, so anyway.
Did they have them in PDF?
You know, I didn't ask him. I just had him print them off because I knew it'd be kind of hard for us to get them printed. I probably should have just got, I probably should have just went and got a jump drive and say, or download everything on a jump
Yeah.
drive for me. And we can still do that.
Yeah.
I gotta give you his card, by the way.
Call them up and see if they can email it.
Well, I'm gonna
Yes.
step out and let Chief step in at that point and, you know, he can.
So, I mean, and, you know, I mean, there's a part of me that feels like the 08 recession is gonna happen again. I mean, I feel the vibe that it's coming.
I would throw some money down on it.
Yeah. No,
I
I
read
mean,
some more financial
Yeah,
information
I'm-
today. So
Actually kind of worried about what I see coming, but,
they say 08's coming back.
you know.
I'm
and-
afraid of the aftermath of it.
Chief and I talked a little bit after the budget review yesterday, and I feel, we gotta see what the rest of the committee and everybody feels, but I feel that being we're looking at this again, whether we build or we don't build, we need to take this project to shovel ready.
Mhm.
So that is sitting there on the shelf and is ready to go. And, you know, and we have the finances that we can do that. I don't think the cost is gonna be absolutely huge, but having that sitting there ready to go, and like Chief says, he feels that if he goes out for a grant, we have to be shovel ready. You know, it has to be ready to go. So anyway, but I do have concerns about room. There was stuff on there. They showed the training center over on the other piece of property we don't have anymore. And so it's gonna be tight. And then he was under the assumption that the old TV repair place and the old Taco Time was gonna be ours also. And I'm like, no. And then out front, the current, or the current street realignment, you know, with city doing what they did is drawn differently now. It's drawn differently on this drawing than what's
It
there.
was supposed to be
Yes,
Main
yes.
Street was gonna turn
Can't-
and go here and
and
go out
yeah,
there and they're gonna
can't-
shut down that.
Yeah,
area.
that's not
That's
done
not
that way
changing.
anymore.
It's
So
not
he
changing,
says
so-
that definitely affects
Mhm.
also. So,
So
yeah.
a new plot map needs to be.
yeah, and he doesn't do that. So that's where we're at right now, is figuring out how we're gonna get a plot map.
What's the
So-
population
16,000,
in their area?
and their district is 17 square miles. Is all,
Is all.
yeah,
How many
and
stations do they have, or is that their?
there was three.
Three
That was their
stations.
main anchor hub, kind of like what we need, and then they had two satellites, Elwood, and I can't remember the name of the other one.
so I wonder if Mike Platts, because he's done plot mapping.
I've talked to him a little bit about that. I talked to Chief a little bit about that. Yeah, so here's how this works. When I use Mike, you know that, because we all know Mike. When I did the industrial park, Mike and I sat down and said, okay, Mike, I got this many acres. I want to build 3 buildings, and these are the sizes. We need to do the paper dolls. We need to draw up the lot, and then we need to move it around in there. okay, that looks good. Now I'm gonna go measure off and drive stakes and see what the 3D feel is, and that's exactly what I feel we need to do here. We need to have that data in there. You know, we have to draw the old station is where it is, because we still have to have operations while we're building a new station. And then move the new station around in this leftover lot to where we think it accommodates it. And then physically drive some stakes, paint some lines on the ground and say, okay, this is it. And then we can see how far we are from the property lines and what would egress be for trucks in and out and whatnot. And I personally, you know, feel that we're kind of getting toward the end of life on our training station. We maybe in the next 5 years have to look at something. I want to make sure that we don't build ourselves in a corner to where we don't have any more room to expand that a little bit if we wanted to. I mean, it's just, you know, you build a new station, it's 100 years. So we got to make sure that we build a new station here has got enough room for the next 100 years. So
Just keep in mind that street was planned
Goes
to
away.
go away.
yeah, no, I understand that. But this building is 200 feet long and it's literally drawn from this property line to that property line almost. So they show in the new plans that we have an EMS room and an ambulance can come down the alleyway to pick up a patient out of the EMS room on that side. Now, whether we do that or not, I don't know. But that's literally the only bypass there is. If I remember right, did you see something different? Was there a bypass on that side?
No, I don't think so. I think
No.
that side, it was
Yeah.
just dead ended like it does.
Right, 'cause
You know,
got houses over there.
Right.
Yeah, Chief and I, we talked a little bit about, well, maybe we could turn it this way and we could bring apparatus in off short and in. Then we have to figure out where we would put the training station. I think if we were to do Burns and the training station was this corner, it might get some people over here complaining and whatnot. So, yeah, I don't know. It's
And
just.
if you get too close to those houses over there, you
Yeah.
might get some complaints
Yeah.
too.
Was Mike willing to, does he have the bandwidth that he could potentially work for us and get something going?
I believe so, but that's not my call to initiate
Right.
that, so I did not take it that
Well,
far.
we discussed that, though, about having Mike do it, and, you know.
There was some
There
pushback.
was pushback, I mean, and myself included, like,
Mhm.
if we're gonna start with something and plotting it out, let's start with who's gonna design the building for us, and let's get somebody who specializes in fire stations or something like that, and start with it from A to, you know, A to Z.
So when I was down talking to Joe Slack, the architect, I told him that, you know, I use this guy, Mike Platts and everything. And he says, well, maybe I can just hire him to do it. Well, if we're gonna do that, we might as well just hire Mike direct and not pay the, markup, type thing. And we're not talking about a whole bunch of work to do that. It really isn't. With the GIS that Mike has and everything, look down at satellite, you can click on our station dimensions, you can click on the property lines and
He
just
did it for my property.
fill it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, he plotted all
Yeah,
my
I've been
buildings.
very, very happy with what he's done. He just, for my son on that project with the house and the shopper building, drew the drain field, the well, everything in there, very qualified to do it. It's just, that's not my call to get
Well,
done.
maybe we just, like, what you're bringing forward, maybe we need to find out if he is the right answer for something like that or not.
And one
That-
of the career staff is supposed to be looking into the architects.
That data, it's just data. So that data could just be turned over to the architect.
Right.
And then it's done from there. Then like Joe was asking me what surveyors, and I said, well, I use AKS because they've done so much work here. They have all that data. And that's kind of with HGE. They have already everything we've paid for. They've already got a leg up on anybody else who would look at doing any architectural. So it kind of seems not the best move to shift gears to try and find a different architect because there's so much work already done and paid for.
And they've also learned a lot
Yeah,
through the process.
yeah,
You're on the one down there, on ours.
yep.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're building, there's a couple in California they're building right now. So
probably cheaper than McKinsey.
the one thing that I seen I did not like was his fees were a percentage of the total construction cost.
That's typically an architect's fee.
Yeah, and I just don't like
I
that.
don't
I
like
mean,
it either.
you have X amount of hours you have to work. That's what the bill should be, not the the percentage of what
The more expensive stuff he draws into that building,
that's where you gotta watch architects.
So who was the architect? You say McKinsey?
McKinsey, they're downtown.
Yeah, I'm working with them on a whole.
Yeah. But they're big,
starting.
they're big, they're expensive.
They've done some buildings, bro.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look at a lot
But they
of
have
people.
really specialized people.
Yeah.
Really specialized.
Yeah.
That's why I suggest it.
Yeah, I mean, they're,
I could
nothing
water
wrong
all
with
the
them.
earth pretty quick.
They were better years ago, but.
I wanna look at potentially an all metal building. I got set up with Metallion for the committee. I gotta figure out a time. We're talking about the committee. We can tour that facility and see how the build out inside was on a metal building. Kind of wanted to take them down to my Manutech building because that's the same depth as our new firehouse would be, 80 feet. They can physically see that single level, that building's about the same size as what this building would be. So you could see what the footprint looks like on an 1.25 acre piece of land. You know, this is, what we figure, about 1.6 or so. This would be 6.9 plus 6.9 plus whatever the road is. I don't know how much of an acre that road is.
Yeah, not counting the roads like 1.39.
Acre and a half, yeah. 3
Yeah,
acres.
so so an extra 1/4 acre, you look at the Manutech building on that 1.25 acre lot, you see how much room that you really don't have around it. And so, but that's where getting a plot, going with data, getting the plot, staking it out and having a look. That's what I feel the next step is. So, you know, we may have to try and downsize a touch somehow. Or instead of running our offices and living quarters so much out this way, we go more of a T or something, you know, to, you know, maybe we got more room this way than we have this way, you know, that kind of stuff. Just think outside the box.
Without the road is 1.38 acres, so 0.69.
0.69. So how much do you think that road is? That
Quarter
doesn't,
quarter of an acre.
I don't think it's 1/4 of an
Maybe
acre,
less than that.
1/8 maybe, if that.
It is about 20 feet wide and
Should be 32 curb to curb.
Oh, okay. And 300 feet long? A
Yeah, I
block
would
is-
say 300 feet would be pretty
A
close.
block is average 300 feet, yeah.
So go 300 times 32.
9,000.
And how many?
9,600.
About an eighth of an acre.
.22.
0.22.
It's almost.
So about a quarter. Wow, I wouldn't think it'd be that big.
No.
So what'd you say the first one?
Total is 1.6.
1.6, 5/8. Yeah, that's where they said, we gotta stake it out,
Okay.
draw some paint lines.
How big was that station? 20,000?
The new one we have is 21,984, I think it
Just
was,
shy of 22.
just shy of 22. But it was like 80 feet deep and it was 200 long.
Yeah, it was longer than we thought it would be.
Yes, I mean, I'm not kidding you. When I drove up there, I thought, oh my lord, this thing is huge. And the other nice thing that I like, I met the chief down there, Chief Anderson, and one of the things, the concerns I have is what future operating costs would be. He has all that data, so he can, and he said he would share that
Sure.
with us, you know,
Great.
like electric bill, they have natural gas, but would have to convert cubic foot of gas to propane and figure the BTUs and all that stuff, but we could get fairly close there. So yeah, and there was a bunch of energy stuff. They were awarded some energy award for conserving energy down there on that. And some of it I agreed with and some of it I didn't. I was kind of surprised, but anyway, but it is a nice station, a really nice station. I asked him, I said, have you gotten any pushback from the community on building this? And he goes, yes, we have. You know, that it's too big, that it's too nice.
Taj Mahal.
Yeah, and
Down.
I think we need to be a little bit respectful of that. We need a nice station that's gonna last 100 years without, you know, the Taj Mahal type thing.
Mhm.
So,
The Holmes Brothers building that we bought
yeah,
is 20,000 square feet, single floor, 1.38 acres.
1.38 acres. And you have nothing out the back. You're all in the front with parking.
In the front with parking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
We could
that's,
plot another building in the parking the same size,
yeah, that,
so there's a lot of parking.
yeah, that's single story. So if you were to take about 25% of that and stack it on top of that, that would be about the footprint of this. So
You could fit.
Yeah, you talking about a Taj Mahal, I think it was the plans prior to the
Prior to
last
that.
plans. And I
Way too
absolutely would not support
Yeah.
that. That thing overwhelmed the community.
And if you were to take Coos Bay's building and put it here, I kind of feel the same way. But we, you know, I feel the reason why we're building a new firehouse isn't for aesthetic appearance or anything like that. It's for the necessity of the sleeping quarters and the admin and everything else. It's not like that hunter that goes out to find a, you know, 7x7 branch antler bull elk, so you can hang it on the wall. You know, we want it for, you know, what we're gonna use it
Yeah.
for.
We need something functional, not.
Yes,
look.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I was
I also want to
really,
be proud of it too, though.
yeah, I was really impressed with the turnout storage room down there. There was a lot of neat, impressive stuff down there.
But we did unanimously feel that this was the location we wanted to be.
If it will work, yes. That's the only thing that I feel would change that is the physical size. But, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we've had one meeting, some good things have come out of it. You know, I think that we're gonna try and get re-engaged with the architect, refine some stuff. And, one thing he made a comment that we agreed on was final design, no change orders. That's where costs really start going crazy is when you have all these change
Figure
orders.
out what you want before you cut it loose.
Exactly, yeah. Measure twice, cut once.
Sure, the architect draws everything you want.
Yeah, and nothing
That's where-
that you don't need.
That's where you get the change order.
Yeah,
If you didn't draw, put the black ink on
Lighting.
white paper.
that was the other thing. The guy says to me, he goes, make sure you put the same lighting in every room. He says, I can show you the storage room of the 30 different light bulbs we have,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, so anyway.
Okay,
I got one question for you,
What's
Paul.
that?
Anybody consider anything on our building that we have now?
What do you mean consider?
Are we gonna continue to leave it and use it?
We've had that discussion. The one thing that I've been kind of adamant about is it's great that we want a new firehouse. We need to make sure that we're gonna have the funds to operate that new firehouse. The issue I have with right now leaving that building is one is lack of room. Another is it's gonna cost us for future operating costs and maintenance and everything else. Now, I know I've been told that the Forest Service wants a bay to park in and sleep people, and so I've been told that by some people that, yeah, we'll leave that for that. But I don't think that that would be enough return to pay for the
That
cost of
would
it.
be only seasonable.
Yeah, 4 months at most.
My concern is, if we put $800,000 in that building, it's 50 years old. I hate to tear it down right now.
So-
I couldn't support that myself.
Here's the thing that really goes through my mind, it's got me a little bit wound up.
Okay,
We as a country, taxpayers have paid billions and billions of dollars of seismic upgrades. But yet we still keep building brick and mortar. So why would we do that still? So that one there, even though it's had the seismic upgrades, if we were to have the big earthquake like they say that we're gonna someday have,
it's gonna
I don't
fall
think it'll
back.
be habitable.
I don't think so.
You know, I think that it's horrible we had to do the seismic upgrade, but I think that we've reached the lifespan of that. And the other thing is, if we build a nice new firehouse here, there's a certain amount of curb appeal that we need. Why would we want to look through our old firehouse to our new firehouse? Why would we want to hide our new one with the old one? Is my opinion.
I think
And once you see how it's all laid out and everything,
you're not gonna.
I
have
don't
room.
see how we can leave it.
No.
Are we gonna drive all the trucks out around it?
Well,
What are you gonna do with it anyways?
Well, and that's it too.
you need that room for a training facility. Whatever the footprint of that building is, you need
Yeah.
something for a training facility, and if that's taking up more room in the plot.
And we absolutely need to maintain a training facility. I see that very instrumental.
Absolutely, I agree
You bet.
with
We
that.
we can't give up that because of, we want this, so. They're
Really, as a committee, though, we didn't get really that. We kind of briefly talked about that, we didn't know where it's gonna go and which way.
That's why the plot map is so critical on it. It's getting the data. You need the data. Everybody has feelings, like I feel this isn't big enough. So we either prove it is or we prove it's not. And that's, the data drives that. So
When's your next meeting?
Monday,
Okay.
6 o'clock.
Are you gonna have another meeting before the next board meeting too, or just this?
No, I think it's just that one. We were gonna, I don't know how long this is gonna run or anything.
Yeah, I don't know, we'll see where we go
Okay.
with the next one.
All right.
Go from
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Go through Monday and we'll kind of see what's direction.
Well, and maybe the next board meeting, we'll have that jump drive. We can share a little bit of that at the next board meeting.
I think we'll have better information as far as
Yes.
how the board needs to proceed after.
Yeah.
This next month.
You get PDFs and I'll print them out
Yeah.
of that station, of that upgraded one.
So let me ask a question. We need a plot. Say that we were to use Mike, we somehow need to pay Mike. That all has to go for approval from the board?
Not necessarily, depends what we're having them do and how much.
What's the dollar amount to where you,
Well, if we get to 10,000 or more.
oh,
then it
yeah,
comes
yeah,
here,
yeah,
so.
we'd be way under
Right.
that, way under that.
That comes out of building facility or something.
Yeah.
Professional fees.
Yeah.
Whatever.
That right now, to me, is the most important next step, is that plot map, whether we can or can't do it on this piece of property.
Well, if you guys decide to use Mike, we need to lock him up and get him going, because I love Mike. He's not the-
Yeah, I'm a couple months late on
You know.
getting permits submitted right now,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
You know.
And I would,
Get
with
'em
permission of everybody, I would probably work directly with Mike, because him and I have done that before, we know what we need to define. And the nice thing is, we can bring 3 different options for a location,
Mhm.
and everybody can look at it and say, hey, what about this? You guys missed that, great, we'll have him just slide that over to there,
Sure.
and that's the nice thing about it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, proving whether we can or can't, we know we can fit it on here, it's just, do we have enough room to maneuver around, do we have enough parking, do we have enough room for the training facility? The other thing is, we have the luxury right now of having that propane tank there. Well, there's certain codes about propane tanks being X amount of feet from a property line and from a building structure and everything else. Where is that going to be potentially an issue?
10 feet.
Yeah, I know.
Depends on the size of the tank.
Yeah,
I think typically 10 feet, but yeah.
It said
I'm sure.
depends on the size of the tank, and Sarah could tell you that real quick. Yeah.
so what's funny is over at my recreation property, I wanted to put a 250-gallon tank in, couldn't do it because I didn't have room to do it with the property line and building and everything. But I could set 420-gallon
I
tanks
know.
right next to the
Isn't that
building.
ridiculous?
Yes. Yeah, and that's exactly
You
what I
can put
did.
20 of them
Yeah,
there.
well, 4 is the max they'll let you,
Oh.
but I mean, and that's exactly what I did. I mean, but it just doesn't seem right. But yeah,
Okay, so on the same subject, Chief sent out an email late this afternoon about a fire station act that could be a opportunity to get a grant to build, to get maximum 7.5 million from a grant.
That is,
Can you,
so that
can
is,
you update us a little?
I
bit
didn't
on
see
that?
yeah,
that.
so that's the bill in Congress that's just been introduced.
Okay, you can
So,
tell me
yeah,
about that.
that's what I've told you
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
It's in committee, it needs to be pushed through, so, there's, you can get on there and you can basically lobby your congressmen and representatives.
Yeah.
Hey, we want this to go through, so I did my part today and I got on there and
So we can to do it.
right, because we need it to go through to get to FEMA so we
Yeah.
can access it.
And that's one reason why I want to beat the drum pretty hard to take this project to shovel ready, to where permits are ready, the drawings and everything all detailed out. All we have to do is go across the street and submit. So, and of course, depending on construction time and when, and, because that construction cost is gonna ebb and flow as to what it is. If we didn't have it shovel ready, we came up with some number, which would be just throwing a dart at the wall. And we gotta have some sort of data to drive what a number is for him to go out for a grant. So if we take it to shovel ready, we could always get new quotes on what it would be at the time we're ready to do, so.
And I'm almost sure that's what they're gonna want out of it, is they're gonna want a shovel-ready project. when the
Yeah.
time comes. But
Yeah.
it's gotta get through the committee, it's gotta get in for a vote, it's gotta pass, they gotta allocate. So I mean, there's time as far as that goes, but this is a big project too, so we've gotta get on it.
So you've talked USDA, you've talked FEMA,
Right.
like FEMA would do 55% or
No,
something?
USDA does 55%.
55. And then we could possibly get something else from FEMA, or you get one and done, or
No, you could-
what?
Potentially you could do both. It depends on what FEMA comes out with out of this bill, if it makes it through, and how much they're willing to fund. I don't know until they.
So the one question I have is there a way to baby step this? It's kind of like when I did my last big project down there. Didn't have permits or anything, but I went in, stripped off all the grass, I rocked everything up, got everything ready for when I was ready to do it. I mean, can we do a little bit of that type of thing? You talked about potentially rocking over here. You go in and core all the topsoil out and everything and put in enough base to where when we do build, it's already there. It doesn't have to be dug down any further.
Probably, but I have to think about that.
Okay, I mean,
Wait till you decide where the building is gonna go before you start.
it doesn't really matter. You look at the plot, it's almost all asphalt, the property line, other than one thing we have to really get with the city too is figure out what, you need 2% landscape down in the industrial park. I don't know what they would require here. There's a lot drawn in, more than I think is needed, but yeah, I don't think there's any lawn in this at all. And now at Coos Bay, there was really no landscaping or lawn, a little bit of landscaping out front, but yeah. So, I mean, it's a property line to property line pavement thing,
Yeah.
is what it is.
Okay. All right, then, that
I'm
subject. Okay, Chief B4, Civil Service.
Civil service, had civil service commission meeting this morning. We're going out to reestablish our firefighter, paramedic, and EMT list. That's just standard process, but, what I'm bringing back here is with Sandy going into contract for services with Clackamas, that's more or less taking them out of East County Civil Service.
Yeah.
So that leaves us in Hoodland, and we need basically a commissioner at large. Bill Moyer is still on there from Sandy, and the commission proposed that he just stay as the commissioner at large. There's nothing that says you have to be in one district or the other, it can be anywhere. But they want us to bring that back here, just more or less get consent that that was acceptable. I don't know why anybody would have any issue with that, but
No,
we
I
just
think
wanted
it
to
is, yeah.
make sure.
He's willing to do it.
So they're contracting for services, all their services,
Mhm.
like
When
what
does that start?
Estacada was gonna do.
Seven
Yeah,
years.
does it still has to go
I
through a
heard
vote?
it was 5.
Yes, it does.
I heard it was
5 years.
So
5 years.
when I went through this,
Not
when
the
I was on the
contract
civil
for service,
service,
they don't.
No, but for merging.
Yeah, but they're not
They're
talking
not,
merger.
they're not doing that.
Oh, but
They're just
after they
talking-
contract for service, then they put it on the
Right.
ballot for merger.
So the board can decide to contract for service with Clackamas Fire without a vote,
without a vote.
without a vote.
Well, a
So
vote
they'll
of the
still
board.
have their.
A vote of the board,
So they'll
yes.
still have the board of directors.
Yeah, the
Right.
board would vote on whether to to contract for service with Clackamas Fire. You don't need to go to the public for that. So
So
they're
it-
basically hiring,
We've lost Sandy, is because they've all become
Yeah.
Clackamas Fire employees. So their board is still there, and they're technically still a member of East County Civil Service Commission. But because they're not gonna be using the process, they're not gonna be, I guess they're not gonna be active participants.
So Tom's not coming anymore then. He's still on.
He was still there, because I don't. He's obviously off.
I'm good with it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he's willing to do
Keep it
it.
moving,
I mean, he's done a good job, hasn't he?
What's that?
Phil's done a good job, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he definitely has the institutional knowledge, he's been there for a while, but he's not gonna do it forever by any means, he said,
Yeah.
but he would definitely, do it for a little while.
Yeah.
But with that, Margaret from Sandy has been doing their secretary duties. Angel's gonna take that on, starting in July. So we're kind of, gonna have the lead on civil service for East County.
Okay. So it's just us and Hoodland left. huh?
Well, and I think it should be us because Hoodland's not very good financially right now.
Chief Price appreciated that we would take that on.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're gonna retain their chief examiner for how long?
It's still Doug Jones for East County. I don't think he's got any intentions of leaving, so. So yeah, if we're good with that, then I'll just let them know that.
Yeah.
SCADA board is okay.
That's pretty good.
So with civil service, that was it.
Okay.
Budget, this is for the formality of it. Nikki's gonna pass out the proposed budget. I think we sat down with everybody and done that. Maybe you've already got it. So, the budget we should plan to take forward to next Thursday's meeting. If there's any changes between now and then, we'll let you know there, but feel pretty good about what we got out there this last week and meeting with everybody.
Good.
I was hoping for more.
We're hoping for more money.
Yeah, in reserve, yeah.
4 million, I think.
Found money this morning?
$33,000.
Keep looking. I don't know.
Every morning.
I looked at this and last night I was gonna start crunching some numbers and stuff and I didn't do it, but I still need to do that. I don't know. It just seems so different from last year. But there again, you gotta drive your feelings by data, not just by what your gut says. So you gotta find some data if there's data to be found.
Well, we had what, 12% increase last year? We're at 6 now, 6.5.
Which makes about sense because Melanie was saying that 22's permits were about half
Yeah.
of what 21's were.
I
So,
think it went from 1,100 and some down to 600.
yeah, about half, yeah. And that might be exactly where it is for me.
Yeah,
So,
so we need to have a consensus to move forward with the,
oh, I agree, we
We're all
move
good.
forward.
we're all good moving forward?
With the
Fair
budget, you mean?
You good with moving forward with the budget?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, C800,
Yep, C800 Radio Group, we had a meeting yesterday morning, and really all it was to go over the proposed budget for the C800 group. The C800 budget committee has met and forwarded budget on with that. I think we see an increase that's built into the budget that we went over the last couple of days in just general user fees. But the big one is obviously that chunk of money that we've been talking about for almost a year now. That's our share is $112,000. We're feeling really good about the ARPA money that the county has to put towards that, which reduces that down to 74,000. And then there's another proposed project, sale of some radio towers to Columbia 911 that reduces it down again and puts us down somewhere around 44,000.
wow, that'd be nice.
I'll find the right page. Yeah, so so we have the ARPA funds, which they're just making sure that they can do that with that money, which it sounds like they can, sounds good. The sale of the 911 towers, and then there's a wave credit, which comes from Motorola for another 11,000. So that would remain, our remaining balance would be 41,633. So going from 112 down to 41,000 would be huge. You saw in the budget, we're planning for the full liability of 112, but I'm feeling pretty good that's not gonna be what we're actually paying out.
Did you talk to somebody after I left?
About,
That price down to 41,000, is that firm?
no, that's what I was just saying. It's not firm.
Okay, I didn't catch it.
Yeah, so the ARPA money, we get a piece of that. That one we're good on. The credit from Motorola from the WAVE program, we're good on that one. It's the 911, the sale of the towers at Columbia 911 that's shaky.
Okay.
So if everything went, then we'd be at 41,633. But I think we're gonna be adding 32,869. So I think we're gonna be around 74,000. I think that's the real number.
Good.
Only because that 911 tower is, I don't know, just, that seems a little sketchy to me, but
Okay. That's better than 112. Huh?
way better.
Yeah.
Yeah, way better. But otherwise, I mean, there's cost increase, of course, just like everything else, it's all due to inflation and part of riding the ship on this whole thing, which is just about there. Some of it's based on radio numbers, member groups, partner groups, and different fees and all that kind of stuff, but got a chunk of money that we have to pay off is a big topic, and I think we're just about there.
So how's that gonna work? I know Colton paid their bill. They just paid it.
Yeah, 55,000.
So, no, I heard it was a lot more than
Should
that.
have been a lot more than that.
Yeah, but
They were
I mean,
way-
are they gonna be able to get some sort of kickback on
They
this
did
other
something
stuff or?
So they owed a lot of money,
Yeah.
and they are actually, without all these, they would be at 78,000. With all the rest of this funded, their final would be 31,000.
Oh, wow, okay, so it's quite a bit.
So they
less
did
than
pay a
initial.
chunk out.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I was willing to pay a chunk of this year, previous year type of thing so we didn't have one big lump sum, but they kept telling me to wait just because they were sure they were gonna get ARPA money. They were sure they were gonna get a wave credit and then potentially the towers. So we've just been holding off and it's looking like that was probably gonna be good, so.
Yeah, okay.
But other than that, it was just the budget review. We're going forward, C800 is sustainable again. Last month's meeting, they talked about the budget and some things that had happened in 2-3 years ago when the other guy was running it, and it should just be about criminal. The way that budget was put together to where the CFO from WACA, who is contracted for it right now, can't figure it out. He's just at a loss, right? Says, I just don't know what to do here. He says nothing makes sense. So, but anyway, we've righted the ship, moving forward. I don't see that being a problem. There won't be any of these big chunks of change because of the shortfall, and it's sustainable.
Yeah, okay, good.
There any charges for that previous director yet? Or-
No, they did get attorneys involved, and they were advised, yeah, you can pursue it, but basically what you recover is what you're gonna pay out in fees for the attorney. They opted not to do it. There's a little discussion about whether or not they should or shouldn't have pursued it, but we're still within the statute of limitations timeframe, so it's not necessarily a dead issue.
My personal opinion, it should be pursued.
Each meeting, it kind of goes a little more that direction.
Yeah, because, whatever it costs, that guy should be.
Where's he working now?
He's now on the governor's 911 policy.
Yeah, so that's the reason why it should be pursued, so he has a mark on his record, so.
Well, I don't know, that might be reason for him to be there, but,
Yeah, that's true.
yes, but yeah, those talks still continue. We thought we went to bed, but I mean, the more they find out, the more it's, we'll see what happens.
And his name's Hardstock, right?
Right.
Yeah, I know him very well. Yeah.
It's a dirty word right now. So.
Yeah, I bet it is.
You may want to say that you don't know him real well.
So I know him as in I never liked him.
Oh, okay.
I got into it in a board meeting when he was telling us exactly what we need to do, like,
Mhm.
instead of just laying the facts out.
Yeah,
And I said, you're talking to us wrong.
yeah, you don't get to make those.
Yeah,
decisions.
and
Yeah.
he goes into a meeting like that.
Really?
Yeah, it's rude,
He's not very good at math.
apparently not.
Well, there's some stories I can tell you about. Different.
Okay, moving on, B7, City School Fire Board quarterly meeting.
So last week, met with the city manager, school superintendent, and the Clackamas County Sheriff Deputy that's in charge of this area. Talked about this joint committee meeting that we want to do, and May 24th is the proposed date at 5:30 p.m. Where we would get all the boards together and talk about how we're going to move ahead with the growing community.
Yeah, and I think that's a good idea, to have the three of us on board with that.
It's one of those where we're gonna put you in a room at a table where you have to look at each other, and yeah, you have to talk to each other, and then you'll have, kind of your support from each entity in the background, but the intent is that The conversations take place amongst the board members and,
Elected people, right?
right.
In May 24th, what time?
5:30, and there was something to do with other city and school things that were going on that night, why it was so early. But that could change, they still have to take it to the city and the school, and we'll see what happens.
So is it gonna be all the board?
No, two of each.
Two, okay.
Now, we discussed, Chief and I were talking, it probably should be me and somebody else as the president, but I'm not gonna be back from out of town,
I'm willing to be there.
so Paul. So I'm out of town for a week, and that's, so I'm come flying back in at like.
If you need an extra person, I'm willing.
So John,
We used to do these up at Happy Valley in the '70s.
yeah, well, it's a good idea.
Okay, well, yeah, as more comes out, we get closer, and I'll send more info, but, that's where we've landed.
Hey, girls, ladies, can do an invite to these two for that meeting, so they can put it in their computer. and look on it.
And then from that day forward, it's gonna be you and Miller.
For the next one,
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I think, we should alternate,
okay.
you know. But we
I
don't,
think
we
that
don't
was
know.
discussed of alternating, so it's not the same two people all the
Yeah.
time, but,
Right,
that's probably a discussion that'll take place there.
so you guys kick it off and we'll see what happens.
And how often, that's still, I mean,
Yeah.
is it quarterly, is it twice a year, once a year?
It makes sense because, you know, all the information is over the city. And then to have that come out into the fire department and into the school district, I think that's good communication.
I think at our level, I mean, we had last week, I think we're gonna try to meet every 2 months. Bigger monthly's probably gonna be too tough, but every 2 months is gonna be about right.
Are they looking at any city council people coming, or is it just like Melanie?
No, it's city council.
Okay.
This is all
City
elected
council.
officials.
Okay, cool, all right. That's what I thought.
Maybe we can persuade the school board not to go after bonds anymore
Good luck.
and fund their school district like they should with the money that's allocated to them. Might not want me at that meeting.
Probably
From this, thinking the fire board, maybe every other year we switch boards, we go, you know, to this. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, DA, safer grant,
Safer grant.
more money.
Let's see. I don't know if I sent the award letters out, but I got copies here, so. So that's the official award letter from FEMA for the Safer Grant for $550,000, 600 and change. The board needs to decide if they want it, formally accept it. So. This is the one we applied for last year, and it's gonna get you, I don't remember what we had in there. So it gets your recruitment retention coordinator. It has tuition money for volunteers to go after their EMT. There is more money for LoSAP that increases year over year. Marketing materials and supplies, and oh, and per diem for staffing the George Station. We included that stuff in the budget as part of the grant supplemental form that you guys saw at the end. So you looked at all that material here in the last couple of days. It's over the course of 4 years. There is no match by the district for any of it. Yeah, it's a nice chunk of money to receive by the fire district to support the volunteer program.
So for us to make up the difference for the retention coordinator, that's funded at what? What percent was it?
It's like 0.56.
Yeah, 5.6, wasn't it?
No, 0.56,
yeah.
just-
So what do you think the total dollars for that position would be? The rest of it that we have.
The rest of it, yeah, that would have been in that budget document.
I see it. I just
Back up,
get the number from you.
if you'll have it, you might get. Yeah, get the right page.
So we have it at 63,160 in salary.
So that, but is that the 0.56% of it?
Yeah.
So we'd have to make up
Plus you got
another,
plus you got,
Plus, they included 25,000 for fringe benefits.
oh, okay.
Yeah, the total,
We,
total per year is 75,000 for the individual, for that position.
yeah, and that's PERS, that's, yeah.
Yeah, I
fringe
like it
side.
though, it was, at 25,000 for fringe benefits, we just put it into the per side. of it.
Yeah, PERS side of it, yeah. So the makeup from the district on that, it's gonna be roughly what, 25,000 a year? To fill that position, if you took the PERS and put it onto that,
No, it's because it's, should be on there 63,000 and change for salary.
63,160,
Right.
Yeah,
Per year,
Right.
yeah.
yeah.
so we pay 63,000 and change in the.
For salary.
And the salary, and the safer grant pays.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So, question I have is, getting back into the historical people that have been here before me. So the old regime, we had the chief, two deputy chiefs, or a deputy chief and a VC, or what was that whole scenario?
Deputy chief, fire marshal.
Years ago, we had the chief and two assistant chiefs. One was in charge of training, the other was a fire marshal and took part of operations.
Okay,
And,
Then we had a staff captain,
yes,
okay.
and then we had a lieutenant.
we had two
On each shift.
lieutenants,
So this
And one
really
captain.
isn't
Right.
yeah.
taking us too far out of kind of what we had in the past a little bit.
Well, I think in today's day and age, the amount of energy that's required to do retention and
And,
recruitment
and the
is so
growth.
huge.
and the growth we had,
And the momentum that we've got going on right now is incredible, and to maintain that, I think this position is, I think it's an investment in our future.
Yeah.
That we're always gonna have folks here.
So we have
long
a,
after we're gone.
very strong volunteer program and we need to keep it going. I think everybody's in agreement with that.
Yeah.
And this is supposed to help promote that. So FEMA's basically paying for half of it, want us to pay for the other half. My intent was to come to the budget committee and say, hey, I want to fund another position. And then grant happened. So we're just by chance that worked out that way. But I think it's money well spent.
Plus you get some training person out of
And
it.
training is a big part of that. Typically, your training guy is your recruitment retention guy, which is how that's come to be.
I have concerns with it. It's a liability that's unfunded out there when this ends. And we're gonna take over the whole cost when this ends.
You can either take over the whole cost or you can
Let
discontinue
the
it.
guy, yes. And it's
Or-
always hard to let somebody go.
Well, the other side of it is too, so now that we've gotten this, we gather the data. This is how it works. This is working because et cetera, et cetera. And I noticed because I've done it before, to where I think we had to fund it like 1 year, but we were able to get the grant back because we said, hey, look, it's here, it happened, it worked. And then we were able to go after the grant again and then keep it going. But if we get to that point, we get to year 4 and it plays out and we can't do it because it's just unaffordable, then we stop doing it.
My concern right now is putting money in the reserve fund. We're looking at this new building. We don't know if we'll get a full grant for that new building. And my concern, one of my concerns, is making sure that as much money we can put in the reserve funds, that's what I wanna see. Right now, we're doing okay with the volunteer retention. Getting volunteers. You always lose a few. I think the average is volunteers average 3 years. That's still about the same.
I don't know what the recent numbers are, and it depends.
but we're about 2 years into that 3 years.
Yeah, and you lose everybody, but.
Yeah, I
you
know,
lose,
I
yeah,
know, I know,
one or
yeah.
two at a time. And then our economy's unstable at this time, and I don't think it's gonna get better for a while. And so I'm concerned with that, inflation. And then we talked about this. wages and benefits are taking, what, about 70% of our budget now?
69%.
I just think it's too early for this. I think we got 3 40-hour shift or 3 40-hour people. And I personally feel that can handle things for now. So that's my concerns.
I would strongly disagree with you.
Okay.
Well, we can accept this grant without deciding if we're gonna pay for a full-time person.
Well, I think it needs to be clear at the beginning, so I'm 100% in support of this. I'm in support of a new station and I'm in support of our volunteers. So I think this is crucial. I think it's a great investment for the department. And I totally see where Director McAdoo is coming from, but I think that sometimes we have to be able to do things that even take away from all this money that we've been putting into the reserve fund, which we added how much was the next amount that we're doing this year?
669, but just to add on top of that, in the past 2 years, we've been able to put 254% more into the reserve fund than was there before the 2 years.
Right.
So just as a visual, we are doing well on saving money.
So I see your side, I see John's side.
Right.
What it comes down for me is, I see both those sides. I feel that we need to take advantage of what we're gonna get here. There is a cost offset there. Even though it's gonna cost us, it's not gonna cost us full bore as to what it would if we decided to do this if we didn't have this, so.
Well, and Jen came to our meeting and this is, president of the Volunteer Association, this is specifically what she asked for. And half of it's been funded now.
She wrote a letter.
I think it'd be crazy not to accept this grant.
Oh, so he's pulling out the Jen letter now. This is the guilt. This is the.
She showed up.
The next thing will be she's going out to her truck to get a bat and she's coming in.
She's over there staring at me like you're gonna pass it.
Thank you for reading.
At least you got the right logo. I was worried there'd be some sort of baseball logo.
Basketball, baseball.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a good.
All your letters are good. I don't have to point just this one out.
She plagiarizes.
Okay.
So for the sake of what we're doing here, need to formally accept.
Yeah,
Need a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the safer grant in the amount of $550,672 in federal funding.
Okay. You have a second?
Thinking this whole thing through. So this person is gonna have the authority to manage the volunteers, right?
Correct.
Okay, and then that person will answer to you.
That's their primary function, right?
gonna hire somebody kind of mean to build a stick up to you? Not be a pushover?
I have somebody in mind. Yeah, there are people out there. I mean, it's a specialized position. I mean, it's recruitment, retention and training.
Yeah.
But there are some people that exist out there that are very good at it. Now it's just a matter of enticing them to want to take this job. Otherwise, we're not gotta train somebody for it. Somebody's willing to do it.
Yeah, it'd be nice not to have to train.
Right.
somebody
And
with
that could
experience.
be, but, we'll see what happens.
You need a second? I'll second it.
Yeah.
You just stole my thunder.
You seconded one earlier.
I did, I thought
It was gonna.
I'll second the next one.
Jesus Christ.
I do see John's point.
I do
wanna
too.
recognize that.
And, you know, I
I
look
think
at
we
the,
all do.
I look at the history of this place and I hear those stories about, okay, that grant ran out and then we had issues and then it came more out of our budget and we just gotta make sure that we don't get so top heavy that it turns the ship.
Well, I think you're gonna have 4 years to evaluate
Right.
it, and if it's working as well as I think it's going to, we'll probably, make a position for it.
Besides that, we'll just take the leftover out of your pay is what we'll do to make up the rest.
I'll be on my pension,
Yeah.
reduced pay. I don't know, I can share any with you.
Okay. Any more discussion? Okay, go for a vote. Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Day,
Yes.
Director McAdoo,
I really have mixed feelings on this. I'm having a tough time. My vote's gonna be no.
okay,
So,
Director Silva,
Yes.
Director Oliver's a yes. Do I need to find something here? Nope. B10, Chief's Annual Review.
You forgot B9.
Oh, the job description. Okay, let's do the recruitment retention coordinator job description.
Yeah, so I sent that out by email. I didn't somehow make copies of that.
Okay,
You guys need copies again, or
I've seen
I
it.
tried to get it out soon enough so you had time to look at
I
it.
think I saw it, sorry.
Yeah, I don't think I saw it. Maybe it went to my spam.
Well, I don't know when you block me that way, it doesn't.
No, I'll look for it. I didn't know what came out.
Yeah.
So it's the position description, for this recruitment retention position. It's written in as a battalion chief rank. And it encompasses, recruitment retention duties and training chief duties. And it would be new. Basically, I need the board to adopt the job description. You want me to make copies? You want copies?
You should know what the job description is.
Are we to the comment part of this? Sure. So when I read that, to me personally, it read more of hiring a BC rather than a retention person. I don't know if anybody else had that feel.
When did I've read it.
Got emailed to you
When?
last week,
Even sooner than that, I think.
was it? It may have been.
Yeah, actually it was. It was about almost 4 months or 4 weeks ago.
Has it been that long?
Quite a while back,
Smokes.
yeah.
Maybe I read it and forgot it. I get a lot of
Yeah.
emails.
It did, it was BC,
So
right?
maybe, do you need an absolute answer on that tonight? That, or
Well-
get everybody copies and let's read it over then.
Yeah, you guys have it, so if you want me to resend it, I can resend it, but if you're good with just doing a by email question answer type of thing, we can do that, but we are gonna be on a time frame because once I accept the grant, the clock is ticking. so.
Yeah,
Why don't we do it by consensus, by email?
we can do that.
Yeah.
So set a deadline of when you want that done
Yeah.
by.
2 weeks?
Oh, I was gonna say the end of next week, but yeah,
I'd
that's
say like
fine.
Tuesday of next
Okay.
week, you know?
Yeah, we can go next week, but
Okay,
you really have to read it.
Who has all read it?
I've read it.
You read it?
It's a
You
couple
read it?
weeks back.
Yeah, and it's a couple weeks back for me too.
Okay, all right, then let's all read it again.
Yeah,
And make
I,
our comments to the chief.
yeah,
And then so he can move forward. Perfect. You need this back?
You can keep it. Yeah.
I just, with Jen saying what she felt the volunteers needed, I wanna make sure that that's what we really target.
It starts out, that first statement is this recruitment and retention coordinator. So
Yeah. kind of goes into the
Well, it's
other
going to, I
part.
mean, it's gotta cover all their duties.
Yeah, I understand, but it seemed like, wait a minute, are we hiring a retention coordinator? Or are we hiring a BC here, you know,
Has
so.
Jen read it?
It's the
Okay,
main
I'm gone.
thing is
This group
retention
needs to-
coordinator
this
with
group needs to
other
take it
assignments.
before it gets-
Yeah.
Be pulling duty off.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll have to read it again. That's 2 weeks ago.
What were you doing 2 weeks ago, Jen?
I haven't known.
Because you know what you were doing in 1985. You told us.
It's funny how that works. You can remember 75 years back.
Can't remember what you had for lunch yesterday.
That's right. It's an age thing.
Yeah. I'll just thank God you reached it that.
That's right.
Yeah.
We'll be there
Have no
someday,
problems.
Matthew.
We love you, John. Okay. Fire chief annual review.
Yeah, so time for my annual review coming up on the 2-year mark already. Got some blank forms, the same one we used last year.
Form last
So,
year.
We're not doing a review tonight, obviously, it's next
No.
month, but gotta get that process rolling.
Does anybody still have their one from last
I
year?
do.
Can you turn them in to me or scan them an email or
No.
get them to me? Because we should be filing those.
Yeah, I don't know if I have mine.
I think I know where mine's at.
Can you find it? And
I'll look for it. Yeah.
I'm sure you don't know what you're building a house, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Who can we talk to get information on this? Without getting into operations?
Well, you can talk to whoever you want, I'd say.
I don't want to cross the line.
Yeah, I don't think,
Yeah, you're not getting into operations or.
Yeah. Well, we kind of are. You're the head operator of this outfit.
True, but
you're not meeting with people to tell them how you.
Unsatisfactory doesn't go below 50%.
you got a pen. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay, any questions on this?
Might want to do this in a reverse, maybe not like a reverse review, but we have send like a questionnaire type thing out to our staff. And then they fill it out and give it back to their manager, like, and then when we do the review, like, it kind of helps us with.
so you use
their
input.
problems and things that are going good for them, things that aren't going good for them, goals they set for themselves. So then we can look at those goals in the reviews and then look at them year by year. Might be nice to have chief fill something out, tell us how he feels.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah. I don't know, just throwing it out there.
What do you feel? You feel comfortable with
You want me to you want me to gather information?
No, I could kind of like send you what we have, I don't know,
that? Don't you do that?
send it to you or something.
Yeah, send it to me and let's look at that and see if it's something that we would. I'm sure does it get sent out, it gets sent to, yours goes to the person that you're actually reviewing to
Exactly,
give them.
so,
chance to do
you know,
some
and it's
feedback.
not like, am I happy with my pay, or am I
Yeah.
happy with my hours, and, you know, what are my 5 goals for the year, you know, so then we look at their goals from the last year, and it's like, okay, achieved, you know, or in progress, or not achieved, and,
Mhm.
you know, it gives you a little bit more to talk about than just saying, well, you're doing a good job, you know, and it goes both ways, like, what does the chief need from us as a board? So it's a more 360 review than us just filling out this paper and handing it to them.
I like it.
It's been beneficial.
Yeah,
I think.
send your format and I'll review it.
Yeah.
Might have to change it a little bit. But.
Yeah, I'll send you all those.
Okay,
We went had a committee pretty hard on it.
okay. We can plagiarize yours.
Yeah, perfect. Might not be totally applicable.
Okay. So next month will be a review.
Yep.
Okay. staff list, we're
That'll
finally
be
getting this,
executive session, won't
doesn't have to be,
it? Oh, okay, we did it last,
we did it last year.
It's my choice on if I want it.
yeah, that's right, yeah.
So finally getting the staff committee. reports. Steve?
Just after 7:30, we're doing this, right?
Ken said it was gonna be a long one.
Yeah.
I didn't know what he meant, but
I didn't think we'd spend so long.
Let's be home.
I didn't know we'd spend that long on the station committee one, but
Yeah, I
okay,
know.
Paul.
it's actually it's kind of exciting. It really is to see what we have.
I think there's a lot of healthy discussion going on.
Yeah.
I mean, this is exactly what the public wants from this board, so.
No more about it.
Did you get moving?
Oh, he's waiting for you to.
Can't get a word in
stop-
edgewise
he's waiting
here.
for you to stop talking.
All right, April report. So for March, we had 121 calls for the month. Most of that being EMS as normal. Incidents of note, beginning of the month, we had a chimney fire on Curran Road. We did send the tender up to boring for some mutual aid. The marine rescue out here, that was kind of more like a high angle rescue in the middle of the night. Somebody walking on the road managed to jump off a cliff and thinking they were gonna go into the water and only hit the rocks below. So fortunately, they were close enough to the water that a boat was able to access them as opposed to having to go down on a rope. So just ended up being a long night. We had a half-acre grass fire late March from an ag burn up some blackberries. And then Porter Road, we had a trauma involving a well drilling operation, which was one of our former volunteers was struck in the head by the hammer that comes down from that, and is lucky to be alive today, but he was at the Easter egg hunt and he was upright and vertical and is actually doing very well.
Back to work.
Yeah. He came back to work? Good.
Oh,
That was Tracy Road, by the way.
Tracy Road, yeah. I think the call notes had it as beyond Porter, so that's my mistake. Annual awards banquet's coming up on Saturday, the 29th, 6 p.m. here at the Estacada Station. Independence Day fireworks show is July 4th at dusk. Myself and Jen in particular have been putting a bunch of time into that committee to bring fireworks back to Estacada. It's happening. We're working with Estacada area community events to make that go. You'll see the little collection bin up there on top of the refrigerator. Looks like some kind of explosive. Those were made by what's the name, works at the bank. Kim. They put those together, so they'll see those around town. Sponsor letters went out recently. And in the next day or two, we should have the Venmo or whatever was link on our websites to be able to start collecting money that way. So that is well underway. Apparatus builds, we are waiting on the final completion of the type 3. Apparently they're working on some paint chip repair and getting the rubbing compound out of the reflective.
Yeah, I had to go back to Freightliner. Once you drive it from Idaho to another state, sometimes you get up and check engine lights. So I've got Freightliner right now, getting some adjustments. And then, yeah, it's gonna go back and get some paint repair, little things.
So we're close. Tender builds on another delivery delay due to a tank manufacturing issue. So we're back into that supply chain issue, but we're still looking at the July delivery date somewhere in there. I did talk to the state fire marshal last week about our extension, and she assured me, no, we will absolutely get it. That I had to poke her to say, hey, we need to see this in writing. So see, we continue to replace some PPE. We did have a spring issue on engine 333, which is Big Booty Judy. That had to go to Oregon to Auto Spring in Tualatin. They have loose saddle bolts on it, and then they had to replace some bushings. So one of our students actually caught that, noticed it was listing to one side when they were doing the check. So. The training on the new Type 6 engine is underway, and we are getting really close to where we're almost ready to go with that. We do intend to do a push-in ceremony when we have the 6 and the 3 here, and do something kind of cool on a Saturday morning and make it official, formalize it. Let's see, we have a new student firefighter on C shift, which is Caden Reedhead. We had an EMS, or not EMS, I had a meeting with AMR and Clackamas County EMS regarding their response times to the Estacada area. We seem like we're getting an increase in the number of long on-scene times where we're waiting for AMR to show up. They're making some adjustments at AMR. Right now, they can, on the low acuity calls, which is where somebody doesn't feel good, for example, they can assign a unit and then reassign that unit up to 3 times to something other more urgent call, leaving us to wait, which can be a long time, sometimes 2.5 hours, which leaves the engine tied up, which is terrible. They're looking at changing that to a maximum of 2 changes, and then they're also going to change their East County posting from Mooring to Sandy. So that should give them a quicker response time into Estacada. Let's see what else we got going on. We're getting in the final days of EMT research for our EMTs and paramedics. Firefighter Academy continues this weekend. I'm doing vertical ventilation here if anybody wants to come down and get on a roof and cut. And then Sunday, we're going to do some live fire out here. We'll have that going on all day, so we'll be busy down here this weekend. Let's see. Other interesting notes we got. Sarah is super busy with plan review and code research and meetings, and building permits and inspections. They're keeping her hopping, but probably the one important piece of note is that they're now meeting over at City Hall once a week on Tuesdays, and they meet with the building official and in City Hall, and they talk about what's coming up so we can stay on track with projects. It's taken us a little bit to get them on par with that, so that would happen. Everywhere else I've worked, that's always been something that happened weekly, and we're back on track with that, and it's really very helpful. Let's see. I think we probably covered just about everything else under the fire chief side of things. A lot of talk there. Obviously, grants are a big one. Budget's a big one. Otherwise, I will turn it over to finance officer, talk about finance.
Keep it quick. The numbers are as presented. The reason your packet is so thick today is because I included some extra reading materials. WHA sent out a annual budget forecast so that you can see where we got our percentages from for our budget numbers that we proposed. And then also behind that is the LGIP newsletter inside the vault. There's some good information in it regarding fraud, this as general. And that's it for me.
I do appreciate you and the chief meeting with each one of the budget members prior to the actual meeting, because then it gives us an opportunity to go over it and the way you explained it. And if we have any questions, we can get those answered before the actual meeting. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So that was something we started last year. Just, I think somebody needed to meet and it went well. So we just did it with everybody and it went so well. Yeah, let's keep doing it.
I think it's a
So,
great idea.
It's a lot of time, but it's time well spent.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. Public comment. Do you have anybody putting their hand up or? Don't see anybody else on the public comment? Okay. Anybody have any board comments?
I have a couple of things, concerning the, banquet, fire department banquet. I'd like to see that get out of the fire station and go back to another venue like we used to go, to, that motel in Clackamas or Monarch, yeah. We used to go over to Troutdale to, McMinimum's. Years ago, we went on a river cruise with a stern wheeler. I don't think we need to go
We
that
did the
far,
Corpus
but
Spirit one time too.
yeah, that's right. So,
As long as we don't go to the Milwaukee Elks Club. That wasn't very good.
No, that was a bad one. I'm no longer an Elks member there.
They kick you out?
No, I
No,
resigned.
There's another
I
function
had
going
40
on the same night and it
Yeah.
was really loud.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was
You
horrible.
didn't realize it was a
But the reason
competition?
the reason I wanna do that, we're to get the guys out, celebrate, guys and gals, I should say, the crew. And get them away from the fire station and have some entertainment. The way it is now, we have to set up tables, move apparatus out. Then there's cleanup afterwards and stuff like that. I think it's a reward ceremony. I think they need to get out of the fire station. And we always had Clackamas or Boring or Colton would cover from the south end. They'd put a crew in the station here. We'd feed them really good before we took off. And so I really think we need to go back to that. So be considering that for next year. I don't know what anybody else's feelings is.
Well, the banquet is an operational function and that decision falls within the administration. So we're staying
Well, it
here, I
used
think,
to
is
be-
ours, and that's also, I don't view that as a good expense of the money. We're trying to save money, and then we're talking about going out and spending considerably more on a banquet than we need to.
The money you got budgeted for the banquet would cover that.
It doesn't,
And I'd like to let you know, chief, this used to be a board function. We took care of it and we awarded the crews and stuff for that. So originally, until just regionally, that was a board function.
I would love it if you guys want to take
Yeah.
that on.
Yeah,
I agree with John on the rewarding and everything else, but I personally like that it is here. And the reason why is this is our town, this is our firehouse. I can see, I don't know how other people feel that actually work here and volunteer here, if they wanna go out. I think that would be something we need to consider what they would wanna see, but I don't spend a lot of time here. It's kind of nice to come down and see everybody and meet with everybody in our own house. And that's how I feel about it. And the money, I agree with the chief on the money, I've heard stories about, Abel was sharing with me, you guys did Inn at the Mountain one time or something?
Yeah.
yes.
And he goes, who in the heck did this? He was showing me the cost of it. I'm like, oh, man, they invited a bunch of people from the city and everything else. And I mean, it was a big shindig and it cost a lot of money. So that, I agree with the chief on that side. It's not real good representation of spending tax dollars, so.
We could even rent the community center even there, so.
That's
but
not big enough.
I just wanted to throw that out. I don't like the way it's done, but I'm old school.
Well,
so-
obviously, we're having a banquet at the end of the month, so we're a little late for
Oh,
this
yeah,
year.
I'm
But
not
I mean,
talking
that,
about-
that could be a healthy discussion later on,
Next
if
year,
different
yeah.
options, but.
And run it through, take a vote or evaluations, see what the crew thinks about it, because ultimately,
That's for them.
that's for them.
Just, I kind of like, I agree with, it's not our decision, I'll make a comment, I kind of like having it here, it's nice to be able to get in the station and see the volunteers and the stuff in their element, for me personally, but that being said, at the RV park, we have a big banquet hall up there that rarely gets used with tables and chairs that you could do and decorate and, do nothing cost wise. If you ever wanted to use that facility, then you could have dancing and booze or whatever you wanted.
Booze, really?
Yeah, I mean, it's a couple stories.
That is a nice, so I went on to a lot of events over the years up there. Colton took their crew over to the forestry center down. Oh, where's that
I
at?
can't call them.
No, it's down off of Beaver Creek Road there.
Oh.
Yeah, down in that area. And that was a nice venue. That was beautiful. You could look out into the forest. But I just wanted to throw that out there, and ultimately, like I say, it's up to the crew. That's the ones we're setting it up for, so.
Okay.
So, and that's something we can bring up next year, but
Don, we're just not gonna invite you next year.
Okay, that's. That's fine.
Is that it, John?
No, some community, events that are coming up. On April 30th at 5 p.m., there's a bunco game night at Clackamas Valley Baptist Church for the public. There's dinner, snacks, ice cream. Also, the Dodge Community Church is having an event that night, at the same time, soup supper. And they're inviting the community to come up and they want to tell what's going on with the new building, the plans they have for the community. And then the next one, Sandy Fire's Sportsman Breakfast starts tomorrow night at 5 o'clock.
Oh, it does.
And runs clear through to noon on Saturday.
Yep.
So if you're out and about and it's 1:30 in the morning, you want breakfast, they'll go over there and serve you. It runs they've been doing that for
For
years.
years, yeah.
They shut it down for COVID. They brought it back last year. So, yeah, I always go to that.
Yeah, that's a
So,
good one.
yeah.
So they just 24 hours, they serve
Yeah.
breakfast?
Yeah, they go from, well, not quite 24 hours. It goes
5
from
p.m.
5 o'clock Friday to 12 noon on Saturday. And that station's open all that time, walk in anytime, get breakfast.
So I got a call shift where I gotta be in Portland at 6 AM. So I can go in there at 4:30 and get
Yep,
breakfast?
absolutely. Go on.
All right.
So John,
I was wondering what I was gonna eat.
the first year event you get there by 6, Sunday night.
Yeah,
And
there's
they
2
both
on
have food.
yeah,
Are you gonna make it to both?
Shirley's going to one, I'm going. I have to go to that Dodge community.
Yeah.
We live up there and Shirley wants me to go to that one. I wanted to go play bunco. I just got into bunco. And it's fun. Shirley goes, she's got 2 a month she goes to.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, of course, on the 6th of May will be the breakfast at the Springwater Grange.
Again.
That goes to 7 to 11.
Okay.
I just wanted to put that out, so the chief wants to bring his wife to breakfast. If you want a free dinner, I know where the places are.
I know who to talk to.
Oh, and I got one other thing. I had a phone call. People think this meeting is only available by Zoom because that's what they read off of our website. And they wanted to know if the public could come here. And they were confused, so I said, yeah, it's an open public meeting.
When we get our new firehouse, that we'll have our meeting in a room that has 150 seats. That's what's on the drawings.
So I decided to throw that out. I had one call.
That's what it says, but you count the seats up, there's not 100.
So maybe we need to change that on our website or
Maybe change the wording, make it more
something
friendly,
like that.
in-person friendlier.
Something like that.
Okay, chief, you got any correspondence?
No, I just want to point out, so in the back of your packet, we're starting to add the Facebook posts. and comments to the list.
Yeah,
Because we're really not getting people writing in anymore like you used to. It's all coming by social media. So we start printing that out. We'll start adding that to the back of the packet because you may or may not catch it, but that'll be in there and it could be lengthy sometimes, but some months may not so much, but I think that's probably our best way of capturing that because correspondence is electronic here, so.
yeah, that's okay. I see them almost every day. I'm on that site. Oh, I guess it's already out there, but did you want to talk about that fundraiser? Or that's already posted, I guess, for Chris Nelson?
Oh, yeah, no, good
That's
point.
right, yeah.
Yeah, so almost forgot about that. The morning after the banquet, we'll be doing a pancake breakfast here, 6:30, 7 to 10. They'll be here at the station.
10:30,
yes.
And that's to do as a fundraiser for Chris Nelson, who, if you don't know, has terminal cancer with Nelson, one of the volunteer lieutenants, and they're obviously taking on some medical costs and a lot of expense. And she's in hospice and not doing so well. So come by on Sunday morning, the 30th, want to say 29th, but
So are we doing a donation when we come for the breakfast?
yeah, we'll take donations.
Also, go
Yeah,
funding.
Okay.
what it's all about.
Yeah, I ran into him a few days back and, yeah, it was heartbreaking.
So, yes.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Okay, so community items, I think, John, you already covered it.
Yes.
Are you running
We're not having the executive session. So our next meeting, budget committee meeting, April 27th at 6 PM. If we need to, there'll be another budget committee meeting, May 10th at 6 PM. And the next regular board meeting is May 18, 2023 at 6 PM. And if there's nothing else.
Matthew,
Almost
Yeah.
2 hours.
Jim
Covered a lot
Beaker,
of ground.
Huh?
Jim Beaker.
Oh, yeah.